Welcome to Stow Therapy, where Stoic wisdom meets modern self-mastery. If you're ready to free your mind and take control of your life, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Science of Love Addiction. Why can't you move on? Why are you still thinking about them? You thought time would heal you, that one day you'd wake up and their name wouldn't echo in your mind. You told yourself you'd move on, but here you are, still haunted by memories, still craving the presence of someone who is no longer there. Why? Why does the brain hold on to love like an addiction? Love, at its core, is a biological event. It's not just emotions. It's chemistry, psychology, and sometimes an obsession. Neuroscience has revealed that love, especially lost love, activates the same regions in the brain as drug addiction. The withdrawal, the cravings, the relapses, love and addiction are closer than we'd like to believe. Part 1. Love and addiction. What's the connection? Love and addiction share a fundamental trait. They hijack the brain's reward system. When you fall in love, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and motivation. This is the same chemical released when consuming addictive substances like cocaine or nicotine. The rush of happiness, the craving to be around that person, the euphoria, it's all chemically programmed. Helen Fisher, a leading anthropologist on love and relationships, conducted MRI studies on people in love. She found that romantic attraction activates the brain's reward system in ways nearly identical to drug addiction. This explains why love can be exhilarating and why heartbreak can be devastating. The same way an addict craves their next fix, a person in love craves their partner. The thought of separation triggers the same neural pathways that an addict experiences when withdrawing from a substance. This explains why being away from a loved one can cause anxiety, distress, and even physical pain. A fascinating study conducted at Stanford University found that people who experienced heartbreak showed brain activity similar to those experiencing physical pain. This is because the brain perceives emotional pain as a form of threat, activating the body's fight or flight response. Furthermore, studies have demonstrated that emotional pain, such as heartbreak, can cause similar physiological symptoms as physical injury, sleep disturbances, weight loss, increased stress hormones, and even a weakened immune system. This is why heartbreak isn't just in your head. It has a tangible biological effect on your body. Part 2. The brain chemistry of love addiction. The three major players in love addiction are dopamine, the pleasure and motivation chemical. It makes you feel euphoric and crave more of the person you love. It reinforces behaviors that bring joy, which is why we repeat pleasurable experiences, whether it's eating a favorite food, using drugs, or being with a loved one. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Released during physical touch, intimacy, and even simple gestures like holding hands, oxytocin fosters deep emotional connections. It strengthens attachment, which is why breakups can feel like an actual withdrawal from an essential substance. Serotonin. Low levels of serotonin are linked to obsessive thinking. This explains why people in love or suffering from heartbreak often ruminate endlessly. When serotonin levels drop, intrusive thoughts about an ex become more frequent, contributing to the cycle of emotional distress. These chemicals create an emotional cocktail that makes love feel irresistible. When that love is lost, the brain goes into withdrawal, much like an addict deprived of their drug of choice. This withdrawal phase is what makes moving on so difficult. Your brain is actively seeking the fix of the person you lost. Part 3. The evolutionary perspective. Why do we love so intensely? From an evolutionary standpoint, love is not just a romantic notion, but a survival mechanism. Our ancestors needed strong bonds to ensure cooperation, protection, and reproduction. Studies suggest that the ability to form deep emotional connections helped early humans survive against threats. The pain of separation or rejection was evolution's way of reinforcing the importance of maintaining social bonds. Anthropologists argue that the brain's addiction to love is a byproduct of natural selection. Romantic love increases the likelihood of pair bonding, which was essential for raising offspring. This perspective suggests that love is not just about emotions, but also about evolutionary success. Moreover, studies on monogamous species, such as prairie voles, have shown that oxytocin and vasopressin play crucial roles in bonding. When these chemicals are blocked, the voles no longer form strong pair bonds, suggesting that love is deeply embedded in our biological programming. Part 4. How literature and film explore love addiction. Many great works of literature and film have explored the depths of love addiction. Anna Karenina, Leo Tolstoy. The destructive nature of obsessive love and the consequences of placing one's entire sense of self-worth in a romantic relationship. The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald. Gatsby's relentless pursuit of Daisy serves as a metaphor for addiction, showing how the past can trap individuals in an endless cycle of desire and disappointment. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, a thought-provoking look at heartbreak, memory, and the lengths people go to in order to erase emotional pain. 500 Days of Summer, a realistic portrayal of unreciprocated love and the mental loops of obsession, illustrating how perceptions of relationships are often skewed by emotions. Through these stories, we see how love addiction transcends generations and cultures, deeply embedded in the human experience. Part 5. Breaking Free: Psychological and Philosophical Solutions. The good news: the brain is plastic. It can change. Here's how you can break the cycle. Dopamine detox. Reduce activities that trigger dopamine rushes related to your ex, e.g., checking their social media, looking at old messages. This helps to reset your brain's reward system. Neural rewiring. Engage in activities that stimulate new neural pathways. Exercise, meditation, creative hobbies, and socializing all help the brain form new associations and move away from obsession. Mindfulness and Stoicism. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus emphasized controlling desires and accepting what is beyond our control. Applying Stoic principles can help detach from unhealthy emotional patterns and develop resilience. Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, CBT. A proven psychological method to reframe obsessive thoughts and develop healthier mental habits by identifying and challenging irrational beliefs about love and loss. Part 6. The Path Forward: Moving On and Reclaiming Your Mind. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's about moving forward with awareness. Love addiction is real, but understanding the brain's mechanics gives you the power to rewire it. With the right mindset and strategies, you can move on, not by erasing the past, but by reclaiming your future. A key aspect of healing is acceptance. By recognizing that heartbreak is a natural process and not a failure, individuals can begin to detach from the pain and rediscover themselves beyond the relationship. Reframing the experience as an opportunity for growth rather than a permanent wound is crucial in overcoming love addiction. You are not powerless. Your emotions do not control you. You control your emotions. Moving on is not about removing love from your life, but about reshaping how you experience it. It's about learning, growing, and realizing that true freedom comes not from avoiding pain, but from mastering it. By understanding the science, psychology, and philosophy of love, you can break free from the chains of emotional dependence and reclaim your happiness. Chapter 2. Is love addiction real? A philosophical and psychological inquiry. The debate on love addiction. Some people say love is the purest of emotions, while others argue that it can be just as dangerous as an addictive substance. When a relationship ends and you find yourself unable to move on, is it because love is inherently addictive? Or is it simply human nature to long for something once lost? The question of whether love addiction is real is both a psychological and a philosophical debate, one that has fascinated thinkers for centuries. Part 1. The psychological perspective. Love as an addiction. Modern neuroscience suggests that love activates the same brain pathways as drug addiction. Functional MRI scans of people experiencing heartbreak reveal that their brain activity resembles that of a person going through cocaine withdrawal. This has led many researchers to classify love, or at least romantic obsession, as a form of addiction. Dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, plays a crucial role in love. When we fall in love, our brains release high amounts of dopamine, creating euphoria. The problem arises when that love is taken away. The sudden drop in dopamine can cause withdrawal-like symptoms, leading to obsessive thoughts, emotional instability, and a desperate need to reconnect with the lost person. People suffering from a breakup often experience physical and emotional withdrawal, just like someone quitting an addictive substance. Sleep disturbances, loss of appetite, and mood swings are common, reinforcing the idea that love, especially lost love, can resemble an addiction. Part 2. The philosophical perspective. Is love a choice or a compulsion? Philosophers have long debated whether love is something that happens to us or something we actively choose. If love is an addiction, then does that mean we have no control over whom we love and how deeply we feel? Plato, in Symposium, describes love as a force that pulls us towards something greater, an ideal form. According to him, love is not necessarily addiction, but an inherent desire for completeness. Schopenhauer, on the other hand, viewed love as a biological illusion meant to ensure reproduction. He argued that our emotions are not entirely within our control, and that love is often an irrational compulsion. The Stoics had a different approach. Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius emphasized detachment and self-control. They believed that suffering from lost love is not caused by love itself, but by our attachments and expectations. According to Stoicism, love becomes an addiction only when we fail to regulate our emotions and allow external events to dictate our well-being. Part 3. Love versus addiction. Key differences. To determine whether love is truly an addiction, it's important to differentiate between love and addictive behavior. Love enhances life, while addiction diminishes it. Love involves mutual respect and emotional growth, whereas addiction is often one-sided and destructive. Love is based on choice and balance. but addiction feels compulsive, overwhelming, and out of control. Love should make life more meaningful, not consume it entirely. If a person's entire sense of self-worth is tied to another, that is no longer love. It is dependency. This distinction is crucial in understanding why love can feel addictive without necessarily being classified as an addiction. Part 4. Case Study. When love becomes obsession. Throughout history, many have suffered from what could be described as love addiction. Consider the story of Ludwig van Beethoven and his immortal beloved. He wrote passionate letters to a woman whose identity remains uncertain, expressing an almost obsessive longing. His inability to let go suggests that love at times can resemble an addiction when it becomes all-consuming. In modern times, psychological studies on limerence describe a state of obsessive infatuation where an individual fixates on another person, often to the detriment of their mental health. Limerence shares many qualities with addiction, including intrusive thoughts, extreme emotional highs and lows, and an overwhelming desire for reciprocation. Part 5. Can love addiction be treated? If love addiction is real, how do we treat it? Some psychologists suggest cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, helps individuals reframe obsessive thoughts and develop healthier coping mechanisms. Mindfulness and meditation. Stoic practices of self-discipline and detachment can help reduce emotional dependency. Self-reflection and growth. Understanding one's attachment style and past experiences can help break unhealthy patterns. Overcoming love addiction or an unhealthy attachment requires self-awareness. It means recognizing when a relationship is no longer healthy and actively choosing to detach from the emotional dependence on another person. The final verdict. So, is love addiction real? The answer depends on how we define addiction. If we view addiction purely as a brain process that involves dopamine release and withdrawal, then yes, love shares similarities with addiction. But if we define addiction as something that inherently destroys a person's life, then love does not always fit that definition. Perhaps the real lesson is that love, like any powerful emotion, requires balance. Love can enrich our lives, but it should never control them. As Epictetus wisely said, it's not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. In the end, how we experience love, and whether it becomes an addiction, is largely up to us.